How to deal with a micromanager. Micromanagers aren't the problem. Your lack of strategy in dealing with them is the problem. You can get control of a micromanager. You can manage a micromanager. So welcome. This is the Company of One podcast. We're here to help you. We're helping high earners take control of their income so that they're not dependent upon their employer. So today we're going to talk about one of the biggest problems I see over and over again is micromanagers. It's actually one of the reasons people want to quit their jobs when they're moving on a path of success, and it causes all kind of problems. So it's something every high earner deals with. Actually, it's something everybody deals with is micromanagers. But instead of running from them, which is our first tendency, was always mine, is to run, get out of here, get another job. I'm going to show you how to flip the dynamic. And this works. I've done it. I've seen it done so many times. First, let's talk about what causes a micromanager. Is it a flaw? Is it some of us are just micromanagers and some of us are not? No, I don't think so. At the core, it's an issue of trust mixed with insecurity. The two may be the same thing, but it comes straight out of the book, 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. The number one dysfunction of a team is trust. You see a lack of trust everywhere, which is why this book is so popular and famous. So micromanagement is almost always about trust. The reason you're being micromanaged is an issue of trust, and it doesn't mean that you have a trust issue. It just means they have a trust issue. So when the leader doesn't trust you, though, they try to manage details, and that's what you're dealing with. So let's talk about a couple of things that you can do to change this. And so just hang with me because this is doable. Step 1, you want to ask for advice. Now you're probably thinking, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense. I want less advice and less control, but hang with me. We're going to take control of it. We're going to ask advice in the right way. Instead of saying, hey, tell me how to do my job, boss, what we're going to do is say, I just want some advice. What do you think about some things? So for instance, if you're sitting there and your boss says, hey, I need you to go take care of, you got this problem between engineering and marketing, I want you to take care of it. And you're used to them telling you exactly how, or you go off and you start doing it and they come behind you and telling you how you're doing it or what you're doing wrong. At that one point, you say, okay, boss, here's what I think I would do. I think maybe contact the customer first. And then I'm going to go talk to the engineering and marketing teams, Joe and Sally over the teams, and see if we can't just figure out what went wrong. What do you think? Right. So you've given your boss a plan. It's a rough plan, but it's a plan off the top of your head, and you've asked them to speak into the plan. Now that's different than micromanaging you and telling you what to do, but this gives them the chance to speak into it. And they'll probably be caught off guard when you start doing this because you're saying, I want you to tell me, what do you think? Especially if you've had a lot of conflict before where you're telling, get out of my business, I know what I'm doing, I've been doing this for X number of years. So this works because it shows, number one, you're competent. And one thing managers hate or people hate that are leading is they don't want to have to do all your work, right? So you've done the work, you've thought through the process, and you're just asking them to speak into it. So it shows that you're competent and you're looking for some input. And now you're sitting there thinking to yourself, if you're listening to this, that doesn't make sense. It's a matter of trust. It's not a matter of advice. You are trying to fix a trust issue. And you're not going to do that by fighting. You're going to fix it by asking for their input. It's weird, but it works. So here's what. Let me just kind of tell you on a situation I had one time. Is as I'm sitting there and I'm working on a physical piece of equipment in a lab. And I'm putting the door on this data computer equipment. You know, it has nothing to do with the task, but there's 4 screws on it. I'm screwing the screws into the door, and the micromanager walks up behind me, and I say, hey Bob. Now I know Bob has a whole bunch of years of experience with all kinds of equipment, so I said, hey Bob, I'm putting this door on. I'm just wondering if you got a better way. I mean, it was a simple, silly, stupid question. And I'm thinking, I'm just putting 4 screws in. No big deal. And he stopped for a second. He said, well, actually, the way we used to do this, which is important, he now gets to tell one of his stories. The way I used to do this is we would start at this top screw up here, put it in, then everything hangs and everything balances out so you get all 4 screws in. It was actually pretty good advice. Actually, I learned something there, but the most important thing is I was giving him some input to speak into things before he had the moment and before he had the opportunity to come up and say, hey, Dale, you're doing this wrong. I asked for it. That put me in control. And that's what you want, is you want to put yourself in control. So that's the first thing you want to do, is start asking for advice on your terms. Don't ask them to do everything. Ask them for specific advice. So number 2 is, and these are 2 things you can do. So I'm only going to give you 2, is finding the common ground. This is a trust shortcut. Is find something you have in common that they might have in common. And if it doesn't have to do with work, that's even better. For instance, maybe they have kids older than you, and they might have some experience with a parenting issue. They may have some experience with a house issue because they've had a house longer. If you've heard them doing remodeling. One time I had a boss that was a micromanager, because you always have lots of those. You'll have a lot more micromanager bosses than you will great leaders. That's for sure. And I heard that he was into stock investing, and I really didn't know him very well. I was kind of new to the team, but he was controlling and everything. And so I went to him and I said, hey John, I'm interested in stocks. I don't really know much about it, and I understand you're into that. And boy, he just hey, sit down. Yeah, let's chat. And he got all excited, and I probably sat in his office for the next hour, and he told me all this stuff. He invited me to lunch, and before I know it, I'm at his house for dinner with a stock investing crew or team or club that he's in, and got to know all these people. And he and I became big buddies over this thing that had nothing to do with work. But there was never any micromanaging after that. I was now a trusted person on the team, even so much to the point I became the trusted leader of the team next to him. And I was the newest guy on the team. And I got invited into the inner circle to do some things that other people didn't get invited into, and things that related to work. So it was created through this common ground issues. I had a client we did the same thing with. I'll just tell you another story. He had a same kind of trust issue, and so they were both into mountain biking. And I remember telling them, I said, if your micromanager is into mountain biking and you're into mountain biking, maybe you ought to go ask them something about mountain biking. He's like, I don't want this guy's input. I know how to mountain bike. I'm like, that's not the point. And so he did. He went to him and he said, hey, I'm going to go mountain bike this trail that he'd never done before. And he said, have you done it? You got any input? And the guy had. And he said, hey, let's just sit down and talk. And that was it. That was the game changer. He said every day after that, his boss came in and had some about mountain biking. He had another thing he was going to buy for his bike, a trail. And he said he started asking him for input. And next thing they know, they're off mountain biking together. And it's a trust issue. Right? So that's what you're dealing with here. So make it practical. Look for something where you know that this person has some input and that you can ask for some input. Right, so I know what we want to do. We want to be bravo. We want to go in and say, I have all the answers. I know things. I don't need your help. But let me just tell you something. All the problems I've ever dealt with in years and years of coaching technical people, everywhere from software people up to corporate executives in the technical world, every single problem I have coached has been a people issue. Every single problem. I yearn for the days for somebody to call me up and say, hey, I've got a technical issue. It never is. It's always people. The easiest solution here when you got a micromanager is to quit. That's the easy solution, but you're going to find another one. And the skill that's going to move you up, the skill that moves you up in the corporate ladder, the skill that you need to develop if you already are a leader, the skill that you need to develop as you go out is people. That's where all the problems are. If you want to experiment, so this is my challenge to you. I've given you 2 steps. Ask for advice on the job and find common ground and ask for input. 2 simple things to try is this is not going to change overnight, but try it. This is a skill building exercise. When I started trying doing this myself, I was struggling with the same thing. Like, I hate these people. I want to quit. And I remember I got to the point like, so what? If I mess this up so bad that they fire me, I'm going to quit anyway. What do I care? So I made this an experiment. And as I would just go to work and try these skill building experiments dealing with people, because I realized it's a people issue. And I would just have fun with it. I would go and say, can I win these people over a little bit? Can I move the needle a little bit? So for the next 2 weeks, try some of these things. Just try them. Treat it like it's your own personal leadership lab, because, well, that's what it is. Test some approaches. Just, have fun with it. Don't expect results on day 1. You might get them, but don't expect them on day 1. People skills move problems out of the way. And every problem you will ever have is the real problems are going to be people problems. So if this episode helped you, do me a favor, hit like on the podcast or subscribe on the YouTube. That tells all the algorithms that this kind of content is good and useful for others. So we do new episodes like this every Thursday. See you next time.